Hi, my name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm author of Pancreatic Cancer, Families Move On. I'm here today with Sherri Trexler, one of the contributors, both to the first and second books. And I'm so glad to be here with you and to see you in person, Sherri, the first time.
Thank you. You too.
Welcome. So, Sherri, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live in North Carolina. I'm a paralegal. I've done this for 30 years now. Makes me feel old. Um, Divorced, no children. My dog is my baby. Um, I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm sorry.
Okay, Sherri, how did you get involved with the book?
If I'm not mistaken, we were on a website of some sort that connected pancreatic survivors or caregivers with each other. And I believe you posted something on there about wanting to do the book. And I was still very emotional at the time too. So I decided, sure, why not? Let's just join in.
Tell us about your situation.
Okay. My mother lived with me, so I was her caregiver. My parents had divorced long ago, so I was actually each caregiver. My dad died in '06, and it was 2 months later, I took care of him. And it was 2 months later, mom got diagnosed. So I went from one to the next, but mom lived with me. So that made it easier as far as not having to, like go to her home and then come to my house, or go to a nursing home and then come to my house. Um, so I was the caregiver. I'm the youngest of three and the only daughter. The daughter usually gets these kind of duties. But I wouldn't have had it any other way. And as much as I thought my sanity was blown by the end of it, I'd still do it all over again. I just wished I wouldn't have to.
Of course.
So, but I was the caregiver, yes.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your journey. This is really about many years later. Tell us a little bit about, what you presented in the book, sort of a brief description of your years to here to now.
Yeah. Well, my story in that respect kind of blends a lot with depression that I suffered. And when mom died, I guess I was numb for a while. I'd already been going through depression some anyway. Well, then that obviously didn't help any, because that was one of the most devastating things of my life I'd been through. And just over the years, I really hadn't done anything as far as living. I've lived. I'm alive. I haven't lived. So I would work and come home and work and come home and work and come home. Depression would come and go and come and go. Sometimes we'd change up some medicines a little bit. And I finally got to a point where I feel like I'm doing a whole lot better. And I actually started feeling good.
That's great.
And I know I can't blame this out on this experience with mom, but a lot of it has to do with it because it was such a big part of my life.
Sure, sure. So how'd you see the change in the years? Because we're really talking about moving on. How did you sort of go through the process and the grieving process and move on? How did that sort of evolve?
The grieving process was very interesting, not in a good way. They say there are stages. You go through stages. You go through them more than once. You go through them out of order. You never know when one's going to hit you, and you just have to roll with the punches, so to speak.
Yes, yes. So what do you feel that people will get out of your story and our stories in this book?
That as devastating a condition as this is, that as devastating a loss of your loved one is, that as difficult it may be on you and put you through so much emotionally, that you still come out of it eventually.
Eventually.
And that's not to say you won't still go back to those grief moments, because they come, like I said, come and go as they please.
Yes, yes.
But here we are 10 years after the first book, and I'm just in the last year or so started really feeling like where I was feeling better.
But we've all learned there's no time frame in any of this.
Correct.
So everybody needs to have their own journey anyway,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we journey differently. But it is a process, as you pointed out. So, and I'm so happy that you're where you are now.
I am too. Like I said, with the depression, and I'm not married, no kids, no significant other. I didn't have anything else in my life except work.
Yeah,
And I guess I probably used that as an excuse, but it was the best one I had at the time.
sure,
Um,
sure.
but that's why I don't feel like I've done a whole lot in these last 10 years. But it's taken that long to get this far.
But you're here now,
That's
and
right.
that's what's important. That's what we focus on.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great, Sherri. Sherri, I really appreciate you sharing personal information and personal experiences. It's really nice to meet you in person finally, and see you after all these years and sharing
You
together.
you too.
Um,
You're very welcome. But one thing I forgot, I did want to add,
yes. Uh,
because this is the most unusual, was my mom survived 2 years and 4 months.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
you hear of most people going in days or weeks, but she fought it that long. So,
Good for her. And I'm sure your support really helped her. I'm
oh,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Well, thanks so much and wishing you all the best of a
Thank
really
you.
good,
You too,
happy
Lisa.
life.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.